welcome to the show, and this will be fun to do this every Monday with you here for the rest of the way.
How you doing, Brian? First, how you doing? Happy New Year's. Look forward to catching up with you on Mondays, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Can see you there in your office at the Mello Center, getting to work. Busy week with Virginia Tech on Wednesday, and then Notre Dame on Saturday. Nice that it's both dome games. We'll get into that, Red. But we'll start with Virginia. What'd you make of this game? It's weird, the final score, you lose by 7. That's reasonable. But did you feel like you had the chops there to make that comeback in the second half after it was a big hole to get into?
Well, I feel like the guys, obviously we made a late push, but I thought early on, some of the missed points we left out there, a couple of breakdowns defensively. The hole was a little bit too big, and obviously we made a dent into it. And you felt like, when you think now back, if we could have kept it within, 4 or 5 points or 7, now you make that run. Now, maybe it's a different story. So I think just a lot of points that we left out there, missed opportunities, and then some uncharacteristic turnovers, unforced turnovers that really kind of, when you make that run, those things kind of really come back and just bite you more and more you think about it.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, it's one where the last 10 minutes you guys didn't really set a foot wrong, but it's too much, certainly against a Virginia team. You know how stout they are defensively. And, slow start on offense, first 4 or 5 minutes really took a while to figure out a little rhythm out there. What do you think it was at the start of the game?
Well, I mean, Virginia is always, Virginia, when you play against Virginias and certain teams that are really, really good defensively, the first couple of possessions, man, you're just trying to really figure some things out, in this particular game, and not say figuring out, but it's always you got to keep going at them and trying to get the best shots, and eventually, you'll get them to kind of break down at some point. But Virginia is always going to be a difficult game for anyone, just because they not only are they the best defensive team in our league, they're one of the best defensive teams in the country. So they give a lot of people problems, especially early on, trying to getting used to the way they play.
And that you've dealt with it for years now. That's a year in, year out thing, dealing with their defense that hasn't changed over the years. With Tony Bennett, we're talking to Adrian Autry here. He'll be joining us every Monday on the show from here on out. And Jesse had a struggle of the game. Coach Boeheim called it a mystery after the game. It felt to me like Virginia was, doubling him maybe faster and harder than he's seen all season from anybody. How tough is that for him to deal with? Because that is not a thing that happened to him last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's new to him. Obviously, we knew that they would bring the double. That's what they do. I think they were physical with him. I thought for the most part, he had 2 turnovers passing out of the double team, but he also created 2 shots. I think one of the turnovers I thought we could have eliminated, but for the most part, that's what they do. I thought he did we didn't handle it as well as we wanted to, and we prepared for that, but. For the most part, I think that's something new for Jesse, being double team, and that's something that he's obviously adjusting to. Not every team does it. Some teams do it different ways, come from the baseline. Some teams, double teams, are not as aggressive. Some people double on the bounce. So he's still kind of figuring those things out. But for the most part, I think he's making the adjustment as well as, you would expect for someone first time kind of experiencing that type of attention.
What is the next step for Jesse in a situation like that, Red? Once you kind of know, and you said, Virginia does it more than anybody, but, is it patience against it? Is it acting quickly before they get there? What's the next step for a guy like Jesse?
Well, I think he has to, I think sometimes he has to just make his move quicker. And I think if he makes it quicker, that'll help. That would help. But I think it all depends. I mean, sometimes it may be taking an escape dribble and getting it out of your hand quicker. But the biggest thing that you do in those double team situations for Jesse is either make his move quicker or really kind of get the ball, create some space and get the ball out of his hands quicker, try to catch the defense in rotation. Because if you dribble back and take too long to get the ball out your hand, it allows those guys to recover. So you want to kind of get them in rotation. So everything has to be a little bit quicker, whether it's making a move or getting the ball out of his hand.
And I think we know just the way teams are defending your team. Like, they're probably not rotating off Joe if he's sitting on the outside. That means that it's probably one of your forwards that maybe is next on the list. You didn't have Benny Williams this last game. He was under the weather. When did you guys know that Benny wasn't going to be able to go, and how tough was it to go through the game without him on Saturday?
Well, that was we probably figured that we found out kind of a game time right before the game. But I thought Malik filled in admirably. I really do. I think when you talk about production from that spot, we can get 10 and 12 points and 8 rebounds from that spot. Typically, that's a good sign for us. And I thought Malik did that. I thought Malik really got in there and battled, got a couple of extra possessions offensively, made a couple of nice attacks, got to the foul line, converted on his free throw. So I thought Malik was fine. I thought he really filled in and did a really, really good job, and it didn't feel like, just from a production standpoint, we didn't miss the Benny from that aspect of it,
Malik, he played 36 minutes, career high. It was the last 36 minutes of the game, actually. John Bull started. He made one sub and ran it out the rest of the way. He had 10 points and 8 boards. I think Coach said something after the fact, don't want to toss the guy to deep end of the pool as a freshman at Virginia. It's kind of a home game for him. But I guess he acclimated pretty quickly, right, once he subbed in the game.
Yeah, he wasn't going to drown, man. He was in the deep end against Virginia. But, no, it was a big game for him. I think as a freshman and coming, being from around that area, about an hour away. So it's kind of a home game for him. And you always, as a freshman, even when you play back home, when you go back home, you want to play well. And obviously win. I thought he did, again, being like Coach said, throwing him in there and playing that many minutes, I just thought he did a really good job.
It's Adrian Autry with us, as he will be every Monday at this time, brought to you by Apex Entertainment, the 110 Grill, both in Destiny, USA. And Red, the small forward spot this year it's been kind of all over the map because it is all freshmen that you have there, with Chris Bell starting, Justin Taylor, his initial relief, and sometimes we've seen Kadir Copeland. What's it been like to manage that? Because consistency, obviously, is the hardest thing to find when you're looking at a group of freshmen. To me, I think it just speaks to the talent that we have at that group with those 3 guys. And I kind of take all of their stuff and combine it and look, this is what we're getting from that position. I think we have shot makers, 2 really good shot makers in Chris and Justin. And I think, it gives us some, different looks at times. So, again, it just speaks to how good, those players are and the depth that we have, that we can kind of go, with those guys. Sometimes we do go 3 deep, depending on the game. So, it really just speaks to the depth. But both of those guys, all 3 of those guys are really good players. In particular, Justin and Kristen, they shoot the ball extremely well. Obviously, they got to make some adjustments on a defensive side, and that's where, I think both have had their struggles at times, which is expected as a freshman, and playing in college. So, but for the most part, I look at it as having 2 guys, and I combine whatever they do, and I look at that's what we get from that spot. And when you look at it defensively, it takes a while, I guess, to figure it out. Would you prefer, I guess, from young guys figuring it out on defense, if they're going to make a mistake, would you rather a mistake of aggression over being a passive out there?
I mean, we always talk about making aggressive mistakes and stuff like that. If you're going to make a mistake, let it be aggressive and things like that. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, they're learning as we go. The reads, the game plan of certain teams, and that's a lot, to not say a lot, but it's hard to kind of pick up at times, what you're supposed to do, and as opposed to making the reads of what the other team is doing and trying to attack. So, and freshmen are just not used to that. That's why they, sometimes you have that inconsistency and up and downs.
Yeah, I imagine this must have frustrated you at points this season, but there's got to be times, if there's a rebound loose, right? You'd rather see them aggressively go try to figure it out and get it wrong than stand there and watch the other team grab the board, huh?
Yeah, sometimes, I said just get immersed in it. And if you get a foul, you get a foul. Don't worry about it. We have talent, we have depth, so just go out there and just play hard as you can.
All right, Red. Virginia Tech in the Dome on a Wednesday. Go figure, it's twice this season. You actually play Virginia and Virginia Tech back to back. You'll do it in the other order the next time coming up later this month. What's Virginia Tech this year? I mean, I'm looking at their roster. I see a lot of familiar names. I see a lot of guys that can make threes. That feels a lot pretty similar to the last couple of years. Is this kind of the same thing we've grown to expect here the last few years with the Mike Young outfit?
Virginia Tech, same thing. Guys, multiple guys that can shoot the basketball. Their experience, a good passing team, very good defensively. They've come off a couple of close losses. I think 3 or 4 of them without one of their best players in Hunter Couture. An elite shooter. He's really grown his game. Even with that being said, them losing those games, it was I think it's like a combined 14 points. So they've been competitive, a competitive team, disciplined team, skilled team, and they compete on both ends. So same Virginia Tech, they do a really good job of competing and sharing the basketball and playing together. So this will be a challenge for us, as it always is.
Yeah. You're talking about Hunter Couture, Red, who's been out hurt. I guess Coach Young said earlier today on the ACC conference call that he's still not sure if he's going to be able to go on Wednesday. How big of a difference is he? Because I think we've seen it in the Dome before. That guy is not afraid of a big moment or a big shot. How big of a difference is it for them whether he can go or not on Wednesday?
Well, he's a veteran guy. He's been there. He's one of their leaders. And they have a good group of leaders there, seniors and Justin Mutz and Couture, those guys, they've been around. So it's important. Obviously they need him. And I think, if you look back and you see some of these close losses without him, those could be victories instead of losses. So he's a bigger piece of what they do.
Yeah, this 4-loss streak they're on. It's an overtime loss at Boston College, a 2-point loss at Wake. They lost by 3 to Clemson at home at Castle, and they just lost by 4 at home to NC State. So these are not blowout losses by any means. And then you turn around, it's the first of your double ups coming up later this week with Notre Dame, and that game couldn't have been more down to the wire than it was the first time when you played them in South Bend a little more than a month ago. What do you take out of the first game that you bring into Saturday here later this week?
The one thing about Notre Dame, we all know that they can shoot the basketball. They can score the basketball. I thought we did a really good job at the end of late in the game. They missed a couple of shots. We got the ball inside. I thought Jesse, that was probably one of his best performances of the in conference play this year. Where he was really dominant inside. He was a force. But Notre Dame, very good team, veteran team. They got one of the seniors back. He had just was returning when we played him the first time there, and he's been in a groove. Hammonds, I believe his last name is Hammonds, lefty from Niagara, really good player. So Notre Dame always has good shooters, and that'll be it's the ACC now, so every game is a challenge.
All right, Red. I'm told I must ask you this before we let you go today. And again, Red will be with us every week. I'm told you got a hole-in-one this summer. We need the details. Red on the golf course. So where? How far? How'd you pull that off?
It wasn't. It was 2 summers ago.
2 summers.
2 summers ago, down in Florida. Par 3. I just started playing, just messing around, and it just went in, and the people that I was with, they were more excited than I was. I didn't know what was going on, and now going into year 2, I was like, man, I'll never make that shot again.
Just started playing, just messing around, made a hole-in-one. That's a sentence that will piss off any golfer walking the face of the earth. That you're able to do that. All right, Red. Good to chat again. Red will be with us every Monday at 2:30. Good to kick it off here this week, and good luck with the games on Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks for a few minutes, Red.
Thanks, Brian. Talk to you later.
Well, that is Adrian Autry, one of the Orange assistant coaches. We'll have them all here throughout the week, various days and times. But Red will be joining us on Mondays at 2:30, brought to you by Apex Entertainment and 110 Grill, both of them in Destiny USA. Of course, not next Monday. Reminder to yourself, tell Red, not next Monday, because there is a crunch game next Monday on Martin Luther King Day in the middle of the afternoon. So we will have to reschedule that one. But in theory, we'll be joined by Red on Mondays at 2:30. Brought to you by Apex Entertainment and 110 Grill, both in Destiny USA. Always good to chat with him. We'll take a break, turn the page, talk a little Bills when we come back. The Bills have had a week unique in the history of the NFL, and the first play of the game was an unbelievable capper to it. Then they played the rest of the game. Who cares about that? Bills won it. Yeah, whatever. The first play of the game yesterday, though, that was a different kind of electric in Orchard Park. Talk about that. Heather Prusek, who was at that, will tell us her experience of being there and covering the Bills this week as well, coming up at 3. That's the next little bit here on the program. It's the 315 on a Monday afternoon. It's QSportsTalk.com at ESPN Radio.